On a moonless night in a dense forest, Femisha ran desperately, pursued by the villagers determined to end her life. They viewed her as a threat due to her lack of magical prowess, believing those without such abilities had no place in their community. Femisha dashed through the shadows until dawn, when she reached a familiar spot marked with symbols on a tree. With trembling hands, she uncovered a hidden door in the forest floor, revealing a small underground chamber filled with enchanted bags bestowed upon her by a powerful fortune teller. These bags could hold items of any size, and Femisha swiftly filled them with magical tomes and potion vials. As the sun rose over the lush forest, Femisha found herself in a beautiful place. Amidst her playful exploration, she wished she had better skills in running, hiding, and evasion. But she soon realizes that these abilities wouldn't alter her fate. Her inner voice urged her to stop hoping and embrace her circumstances to achieve her goals. Determined to grow stronger, Femisha continued her exploration until stumbling upon a garbage site, which sparked her curiosity. Among the mountains of trash, she found some usable items, including deadly potions and some clothes. She also found a map hidden within one of the clothes, which will be useful to ease her journey. However, the reminder of her unwanted status weighed heavily on Femisha's heart, dampening her spirits. Suddenly, she detected the presence of others nearby. Concealing herself, she observed two individuals searching for her. Wondering about these creatures' nature, Femisha hid as they discussed her pursuit, swiftly fleeing to evade detection. Hidden among the foliage, Femisha overhears the man mentioning the village chief's bounty on her, offering a hefty reward for her head, dead or alive. This revelation sends shivers down Femisha's spine. She flees deeper into the forest, evading the man until nightfall. With the break of dawn, Femisha resumes her exploration of the forest. Passing by a shallow body of water. Suddenly, a sudden gust of wind startles her, causing a swarm of slime creatures to swirl in her direction. Startled and fearful, she tries to run from the slimes, but falls off a cliff. Luckily, her bag was caught on one of the branches, which broke her fall. She was very relieved to have escaped the strange creatures. However, her relief is short-lived as she discovers a wound on her hand. She then applied her old potion she found from before, but realizes it's not working as well as it should be, due to it being old. She then uses another bottle which completely heals her wound. Continuing her journey, Femisha once again encounters a picturesque lake. Overwhelmed by its beauty, she decides to clean herself, experiencing a delightful sensation she's never had since escaping the village. Recalling the fortune teller's advice to be resilient and resourceful, Femisha resolves to disguise herself as a boy, cutting her hair in order to travel safely. She chose to name herself Ivy, symbolizing her resilience, named after the plant that thrives even when trampled upon. Contemplating her uncertain future, Ivy realizes that everyone else seems to have goals in life. As she explores the forest, she senses a presence within it. Observing the flowers, she spots a small gelatinous creature perched on one of them. Consulting the book she carries, Ivy discovers that it's an unidentified species, a rare creature referred to as the frail gel or the dispersing slime. Unwilling to label it as weak, Ivy decides to rename it. However, the frail creature is easily affected by the wind, struggling to stay upright and eventually toppling over. Concerned that it would perish, Ivy rushes to its aid, rescuing it before it falls into the water. As the sun sets, Ivy confides in the frail slime, expressing her frustration at life's unfairness. She recounts her village's rigid skill system, where skills are granted at the age of 5, and each skill comes with stars to determine their skill's power. Ivy sadly reveals her own skill in monster taming, which had 0 start, rendering her unable to even tame small animals. She shares the rejection and change in attitudes from her family and community upon discovering her starless skill, leading to her loss of home and family. Despite her hardships, Ivy finds comfort in the memories of her past life as a human reborn in this world. She acknowledges the limitations of these memories, occasionally hearing whispers that aid her. She reflects on the kindness of a fortune teller who gifted her with knowledge and books, including the old magical bag that lightens the contents it holds, which has helped her to survive in the forest. Tearfully, Ivy tells the little slime that the fortune teller who had been her sole companion recently passed away, leaving her utterly alone in this world. Despite her innocence and inability to harm anyone, the villagers relentlessly pursue her due to her lack of stars. Ivy expresses her frustration at the unfairness of the world. Despite the challenges, Ivy finds solace in sharing her thoughts with the attentive slime, considering it her first and perhaps only friend in this unforgiving world. As Ivy awakens the next morning, she eagerly looks for the slime, only to find it missing. Fear grips her heart as she searches frantically, tears streaming down her face at the thought of losing her newfound friend. All alone once again, Ivy grieves deeply until she remembers the map in her bag, a guide to the royal capital as advised by the fortune teller. As she retrieved the map, she felt something unusual about it, only to discover the little slime nestled within her bag. Overwhelmed with joy, Ivy realizes that the slime's supposed one-day lifespan was a falsehood. Happy at the slime's survival, Ivy decides to tame it, despite her status as a starless tamer. She consults her book on monster taming, and learns that transferring a small amount of magical energy to the monster is necessary for successful taming. Overcoming her fear, Ivy musters her courage and successfully tames the little slime, naming it Sora. Delighted, Sora celebrates with Ivy, and in this moment of happiness, Ivy reveals her name to her newfound companion. After successfully catching a small mouse, Ivy slaughters it for its meat, storing it in her bag for later cooking. Consulting her map, she focuses on reaching a town near the capital, as advised by the fortune teller. Although the royal capital isn't marked on the map, she knows it lies beyond the village, so she plans to head there first. While speaking, Ivy senses an approaching presence, and swiftly flees with Sora to evade a monstrous threat. Taking refuge in a tree, Ivy witnesses a massive swarm of giant ants, fierce monsters that pass by without detecting her. Descending from the tree, Ivy remains cautious, shielding Sora as they continue their journey. She senses a small wound on her face caused by a branch. Ivy promptly treats it with antidote from her dwindling supply, making a mental note to restock soon. As she navigates through the forest, she discovers wanted posters with her image and specifications, offering a hefty reward of 500 gold coins for her capture. Baffled and distressed by the bounty on her head despite her innocence, Ivy angrily removes and destroys the posters before proceeding towards the village. Along the path, she contemplates the unfair situation she faces, determined to find answers in the nearby village. She hides Sora in her bag, and enters the village. There she marvels at the widespread use of magic in daily activities, yearning to possess such abilities herself. She observes children playing, and notices a boy with the skill of speed while his sister lacks any magical talent. Continuing her exploration, Ivy stumbles upon a bakery, although her excitement is dampened by her lack of funds. Pressing on, she encounters a butcher and decides to sell the mouse meat she caught. Impressed by the freshness and preparation of the meat, the butcher offers a handsome sum of 100 pieces for a large quantity. Thrilled at the prospect of having money to spend, Ivy heads to the bakery, where a merchant, mistaking her for a boy, assists her in purchasing a substantial amount of bread with her newfound wealth. Returning to the forest with Sora, Ivy enjoys the bread, savoring the treat after not eating for a long time. However, she realizes Sora doesn't share her enthusiasm for the bread, prompting her to offer other items it usually consumes. Though Sora attempts to communicate its preferences, Ivy misunderstands and decides to hunt more field mice to return to the butcher for additional earnings. While on her way to the butcher, Ivy stumbles upon a landfill and discovers sizable doses of potions, unsure of their usability. As she gathers them in her bag, Sora surprises her by consuming some potion bottles. Ivy then tries to offer Sora a variety of items, but Sora refuses all of it, leaving Ivy intrigued by its peculiar behavior. Realizing Sora's ability to dispose of only the blue potions, Ivy offers it a bottle as they return to the village to sell more meat. With the butcher's purchase of a significant amount of field mouse meat, Ivy receives 250 gold, which she uses to buy bread and sweets from the merchant. Returning to her spot by the lake, Ivy invites Sora to swim, but it declines, fearing it might drift away. Ivy comforts Sora before providing it with potion bottles to consume, enjoying a piece of bread herself and reflecting on the villagers' kindness, wishing she could stay forever. The following day, Ivy encounters numerous adventurers in the village, one of whom engages her in conversation, unknowingly the person searching for her. Another adventurer inquires about her magical bag, instilling fear in Ivy, prompting her to flee. Running until stopped by the butcher, Ivy informs him of her lack of catch that day. The butcher mentions adventurers buying all his dried meat and raises the buying price for Ivy's future catches, prompting her gratitude. At the bakery, the baker offers Ivy her favorite bread for free, insisting she can pay later. But after seeing her poster in the shop, Ivy hurriedly leaves to avoid recognition. At sunset, Ivy reflects on the village's kindness but realizes she cannot stay due to the presence of adventurers. Seeking reassurance from Sora, she sleeps sadly, deciding to leave the village by morning. Consulting her map as she walks, Ivy reaches a river with fruit trees, urging Sora to try the fruit, believing it needs to eat to grow. Suddenly, the tree changes color, and a large monster emerges, attacking Ivy. Injured and weakened, Ivy searches for antidotes, but finds none. Suddenly, Sora merges into her wound, surprising Ivy, who fears the worst, believing her best friend is about to devour her. Ivy found herself slipping into unconsciousness, reliving memories of her childhood. She remembered the joyous moment when her father celebrated her birth, naming her as her mother lovingly cradled her. As years passed, Ivy reminisced about delivering lunch to her father and older brother, their familial bond evident in their shared meal breaks and playful banter. Back at home, Ivy's family gathered around the dinner table, exchanging stories of their day. Her father proudly recounted his progress at work, while her older brother boasted about nearing completion on a furniture project. Their mother, ever supportive, praised their efforts, remarking on their respective skills. Throughout these gatherings, the warmth of family enveloped Ivy, offering solace amidst the challenges of her journey. He attempted to deflect the praise, attributing the swift completion of the sofa cushions to his mother's 2-star sewing skill. Ivy noticed her mother's tears and she apologized for startling Ivy. She told them that she was sewing bridal wear for the shoemaker's daughter, which made her think about sewing one for Facilla. Hearing this, Facilla wished for an extravagant dress, which prompted discussions about Ivy's upcoming skill at the age of 5. Their father imparted wisdom, emphasizing the importance of skills for survival, while Ivy expressed her desire for the Tamer skill, yearning to befriend dragons and monsters. Her father, grounding her aspirations, reminded her that skills were granted by the gods for practical purposes. And to lift Ivy's spirits, he carved a unicorn figurine. Family time was interrupted by Luba, the fortune teller, seeking to bless Ivy's impending skill reception. Luba, aware of Ivy's memories from a past life, and cautioned her against revealing this. She then prayed for Ivy, and despite Facila's skepticism, Luba assured Ivy of a promising skill. The day arrived for Ivy's skill ceremony at the church. As Ivy dipped her finger into the chalice, the priest invoked divine blessings, but shock ensued when it was revealed that Ivy possessed the Tamer skill but without any stars. The priest departed in disbelief, leaving Ivy and her parents to grapple with the revelation of a starless individual in their family. The revelation of Ivy's starless status was met with confusion and frustration within her family. Her father, struggling to comprehend the situation, resorted to drinking in an attempt to find an escape. Despite both parents and their older children possessing stars, Ivy was the one with 0 stars. Bewildered, her father questioned Ivy's true father, causing her mother to break down in tears. As tensions escalated, Ivy's attempts to speak were met with hostility, culminating in her older brother forcibly ejecting her from the house. Alone and rejected, Ivy navigated the village streets, met with disdainful glances and verbal attacks. The village chief seized upon Ivy's starless status as an ill omen, and he rallied the villagers to prepare for impending misfortune. Facing hunger and inclement weather, Ivy sought refuge in a cave, only to collapse from exhaustion. Awakening under a blanket beside a warm fire, she was surprised to find Luba, the fortune teller, tending to her. Luba cautioned Ivy against overexerting her limited magical energy, explaining the danger of depletion. Expressing surprise at the circumstances that led to Ivy's predicament, Luba offered guidance and assistance, providing her with a starter pack for survival outside the village. Equipped with a magic bag and informative books, Ivy received Luba's counsel to embark on a journey of self-discovery, suggesting she settle in a neighboring town if she found a place to call home. As Ivy continued her journey, Luba reflected on the importance of building trust with allies, understanding that honesty was crucial for maintaining strong relationships. Despite the general disdain towards her due to her starless status, Ivy found solace in the kindness of Luba, who imparted valuable survival skills during their time together in the forest. She was confused by Luba's generosity, and Luba tells her of a time when skills and stars were non-existent, and people lived harmoniously. Adjusting to her nomadic lifestyle, Ivy honed her survival skills, becoming adept at scavenging and hunting for food. However, one day, Ivy's solitude was interrupted when she sensed familiar presences from her village. Suspecting trouble, she covertly listened in on a discussion at the village church, only to discover Luba's passing. The village blamed her as a curse causing the fortune teller's death. Shocked and hurt by her father's decision to return her to the gods, Ivy overheard hateful words from the village head, inciting the villagers to hunt her down as a curse. Suddenly she awakened from this distressing dream, and Ivy found comfort in the presence of her loyal companion, Sora the Slime. Realizing that her wound had miraculously healed, Ivy thanked Sora for his unwitting assistance and vowed to persevere despite the challenges ahead. Grateful for the bond they shared, Ivy resolved to cherish each moment of her journey, determined to live on with newfound determination. Their next day begins as Ivy and Sora awaken to the morning light. Sora, unusually energetic, catches Ivy's attention as he showcases newfound abilities. And as they enjoy their breakfast, Ivy notices Sora's transformation into adulthood, marked by his increased height and agility. However, their joy is short-lived as they realize their dwindling food supplies. Determined to find more supplies, Ivy leads Sora into the forest, where they stumble upon a garbage dump. Among the discarded items, Ivy finds not only food but also elegant clothing. Ivy gathers various doses and concocts a mixture to satiate Sora's cravings. As they journey onward, Ivy reflects on the unexpected companionship she has found in Sora, grateful for its companion amidst the uncertainty of their travels. Along the way, they encounter a bounty of delicious berries, which Ivy eagerly collects, despite Sora's disinterest in them. Undeterred, Ivy savors the sweetness of the berries, cherishing the fleeting moments of contentment amidst their journey. As the sun sets, Ivy and Sora find comfort in their shared meal, grateful for each other's company. Upon realizing Sora's insatiable appetite, Ivy becomes concerned about their dwindling food supply. Determined to ensure they have enough food for their journey, Ivy devises a plan to make Sora sleep so that he'll stop eating. She tells him a bedtime story under a tree, recounting a tale from her childhood about a world on the brink of war and a forgotten magic with mysterious powers. But Ivy drifts off to sleep mid-story. She is startled awake by a drop of water, realizing morning has arrived. To her dismay, she discovers that Sora has consumed all the potions, leaving none for their journey ahead. Ivy then decides to catch a mouse to sell for money. However, her plans take an unexpected turn when she encounters a large snake in her trap. Despite the danger, Ivy manages to subdue the snake and carries it along with her. As they continue their journey, Ivy senses a strange smell but finds no sign of danger. Suddenly, they come across horses covered in blood and an overturned carriage. Ivy swiftly shielded Sora from danger and ran. Fueled by adrenaline, she covered kilometers in record time before finally catching her breath after nearing a town in the distance. Determined to seek help, Ivy entered the city through its main gate. She seeks for assistance and enters a building, quickly relaying the incident to the people there. The secretary, intrigued by Ivy's account, urged her to provide more details. Ivy recounted the attack on the road from the village of Latham, emphasizing the brutal wounds and slain horses, indicating the involvement of monsters rather than bandits. The one-eyed man scrutinized Ivy's testimony and instructed the group to investigate further, promising a reward for her information. Ivy then learned of the rewards for reporting monster-related incidents to the town hall. Grateful for the opportunity to earn money, Ivy accepted the document from the secretary. Later, at the pharmacy, Ivy sold the snake she had captured, learning of its market value of 2 silvers each as a monster specimen. Upon inspection, the pharmacist discovers that the snake Ivy captured is a rare female specimen. Impressed by its rarity, he offers her $3 in their currency for it, along with the promise of additional payment for any more she captures in the future. Delighted with her newfound currency, Ivy sets off to find food for herself and Sora. During her journey, Ivy stumbles upon a cluster of magical red bags, each with unique abilities. Realizing she can't carry them all, Ivy devises a plan to optimize their transport by categorizing them based on their carrying capacities. After much effort and calculation, Ivy successfully organizes the bags for efficient transport, ensuring she can collect the doses they need. As Ivy continues down the road, she encounters a group of adventurers, prompting her to hide. However, one of the adventurers recognizes her from their previous interaction and expresses gratitude for the information she provided, which helped them track down monsters responsible for a recent attack. He warns her of the ongoing danger and advises her to stay in the village until the threat is eliminated. Later, Ivy collects her rewards from the town hall, receiving a silver plate worth 50 silvers and 2 gold coins for the substantial reward for reporting high-level monsters. Overwhelmed by the unexpected windfall, Ivy takes cautionary advice from the employee and retrieves the bags she had left behind. Reflecting on her newfound wealth, Ivy contemplates the dangers of the forest and decides to stay in town until the monster hunting is over. With Sora by her side, she enjoys the evening with a sense of contentment, grateful for their companionship amidst the uncertainty of their journey. As she drifts off to sleep, Ivy embraces the peaceful moment, cherishing her bond with Sora before succumbing to slumber. After the scary monsters in the forest were defeated, Ivy decided to venture into the forest. She checked her traps for animals, but they were broken and empty. This made her sad because she needed the animals to make money. But Ivy remembered that she still had some money left from the information. In the forest, Sora saw something and ran into the bushes. Ivy followed her and found a big cat that was badly hurt. It turned out to be a strong creature called an anicapped. Ivy felt sorry for it because it looked like it was going to die. And she tried to comfort it, but it still looked hurt. Suddenly, Sora helped by using its magic to heal the cat. And Ivy noticed that Sora seemed different after that. The cat thanked Ivy for helping and followed her throughout the day. Ivy then thought of a name for the anicapped and named it Seal. Suddenly, Ivy sensed the presence of some humans, and she quickly told Sora to hide. The cat, however, was too big to fit in her magic bag. Luckily, Seal understood the assignment and ran into the forest to hide. As Ivy went to a new village, she saw a guard named Oat, and he seemed very tough. Ivy watched as Oat questioned a man who seemed suspicious. So, she felt scared to talk to Oat, but she had to. Seconds later, she noticed a bug on Oat's shoulder and pointed it out. This distracted Oat, and Ivy thought she could go into the village without any trouble. Turns out, Oat still persisted in knowing her whereabouts. And after Ivy told Oat that she's from Latham village, he was surprised to hear that she was so far from home all by herself. He sympathized with the difficulties her village must be facing. Ivy was puzzled by his sympathy. And Oat suggested that she could make a living as an adventurer in the village. With a goodbye from the guard, Ivy entered the village, curious about what was happening back home. Impressed by the bustling village, Ivy headed straight to the butcher's. The butcher welcomed her warmly, and assured Ivy that they would buy any fresh prey she caught. Giving Ivy a word of caution about the dangers of hunting alone, especially with wild boars nearby, the butcher advised her to be careful. And Ivy thanked her for the advice, purchased some dried meat, and left. She suspected that the boars might have been the ones breaking her traps. Remembering her past self's advice on the dangers of sleeping in the forest, Ivy headed to the adventurer's clearing to rest. Amazed by the size of the clearing, especially considering the village's scale, Ivy hesitated to approach another guard she spotted. Despite her fear, she approached him, and after a few questions, he gave her a pass and directed her to the section best suited for her situation. As Ivy set up her mat and lay down, she noticed some big tents far away. Wondering if that's where the more experienced adventurers gathered, she sat up and observed her area filled with small tents, guessing it was for beginners like herself. Admiring both types of tents, Ivy thought it would be nice to have one, which would keep her and Sora safer from the weather and hidden from sight. Remembering she had the reward money from the info she gave, Ivy went to the market to check prices for second-hand tents. There, she ran into Oat, startling each other. Valivra asked him not to scare Ivy. And they found out Ivy wanted to buy a tent. Oat was surprised she didn't have one. And he wondered if she lost everything when leaving her village, confirming the current hardships her village faces. They then introduced themselves to Ivy, and Oat eagerly took her to a great shop run by a skilled old man. Valivra warned Oat to be careful not to hurt Ivy while pulling her, and as an apology, Oat promised to help Ivy find the best tent. When they reached the old man's shop, he joked with Oat that there was nothing for him to buy. But he immediately showed sympathy when he learned Ivy was from Latham village. The guard asked for a good quality tent, but the old man explained the different durability levels of tents, mostly based on weight. However, Ivy was more worried about the price, but she was then told that it depends on her budget. When she mentioned she only had 5 gold, they were surprised. And Ivy revealed she had 2 more gold coins but didn't want to spend them. The guards were shocked and wondered how she got so much money. And Ivy explained she got a reward from the previous village for tipping them off about a monster attack a month ago. They were glad that she was safe because it meant that she could have encountered a really strong monster. The old man then told her that she could get a good tent for 5 gold. He showed them a light and sturdy tent, the latest model previously owned by an adventurer named Lazy Joya, who hardly used it before quitting to get married. The old man had upgraded the tent and offered it to Ivy for a silver bar, which was a great deal considering it's the same price he paid for it before the upgrade. After sealing the deal, he asked Ivy to mark the tent so she could recognize it easily. She chose the name Sora in Japanese kanji, a name she felt connected to from her past life. As a bonus, the old man gave Ivy a small magic bag to keep her money safe. The bag is enchanted so nobody else could see what's inside. And Ivy was really thankful for the gift. The trio left the shop and Ivy felt happy about her purchases. She thanked the guards for their help. Valivra reminded them they needed to get back to patrolling, so Oat said goodbye. Ivy headed back to the clearing and set up her new tent without any problems. And she brought Sora out to show him their new home, feeling relieved they'll be protected from the weather. Sora seemed just as excited as she was. Ivy felt lucky to have gotten the money and such a good deal on the tent, making her feel like she got it for free. She wondered if she was allowed to have all these nice things but decided to celebrate anyway. She planned to go to the city's dump to look for potions while it was still daytime. Since the village was big, she figured people must have thrown away lots of stuff there. As she stepped out, some rude adventurers noticed her. They came over and accused her of being a thief, which confused Ivy. One of them claimed her tent belonged to him, but Ivy insisted she bought it. This angered the group's leader, who called her a liar and grabbed her. They insulted her and tried to scare her, but a guard stepped in and warned them to behave or get kicked out. The adventurers continued lying, saying Ivy stole the tent. The guard asked for proof, but they couldn't provide any. They just claimed Ivy couldn't afford such a tent. The guard let Ivy go and revealed that Oat and Valivra were the ones who escorted Ivy to buy the tent. Ivy was surprised to learn that Oat and Valivra were important people in the village. The troublemakers quickly backed off, but it was too late. They were caught by the other guards. Turns out, Oat told the guard to watch over Ivy and make sure she was safe. And as an apology for what happened, the guard gave Ivy a brand new healing potion. That evening, Ivy was amazed by the potion's quality. She gave Sora his potions while she ate, but he refused because he sensed the new potion in her bag. Ivy decided not to give it to Sora in case they needed it for an emergency. The next day Ivy decided to go hunting. However, something strange happened while they were walking. One by one, the guards with warm smiles started to stop Ivy and greet her by calling her name. Some even gave her berries to eat. This made Ivy worried, wondering how everyone knew her name. Her worries didn't stop there. as all her traps in the forest seemed to be broken by some big monster animals. At this rate, she might starve to death. But then she sensed something familiar. And behind her was Seal, holding a bunch of rabbits. Seal then placed the rabbits in front of Ivy, surprising her. Ivy asked if all these were for her, and Seal said yes, making Ivy very happy. She hugged Seal tightly and Ivy counted and found 9 rabbits without any scratches on them. She was surprised, wondering how Seal caught them. After butchering all the rabbits, Ivy noticed Seal playing with Sora like a ball. And once the butchering was done, Ivy grabbed the sleeping Sora and thanked Seal for everything. After giving Ivy a warm hug, Seal ran into the forest. On her way back, she wondered how Sora, who seemed so fragile before, had become stronger. Back at the village, Ivy gave the meat to the old woman, who was surprised by how fresh and nicely butchered it was. She asked if Ivy had 4 or 5-star hunting and butchering skills, making Ivy nervous. She didn't answer, and the owner thought she was indeed a high-level adventurer. And she gave Ivy 95 silver coins, promising to buy more from her. Once again, one by one, all the guards started to greet Ivy with warm smiles, offering help if she needed it. This creeped her out, and while hiding behind a box, she wondered how everyone knew her name. Just then, Velivra came from behind, asking why Ivy was hiding. After explaining everything, Velivra sighed, saying he knew Oat was protective, but he didn't expect him to go to this extent. He explained that Captain Oat just wanted Ivy to be safe, so he requested all the guards to keep an eye on her and help her if she was in need. This made Ivy feel a little happy, and Velivra apologized, saying he was really sorry if it caused her any trouble. And after Velivra left, she expressed her appreciation for Oat's help. In a fruit store, Ivy noticed her village's fruit, Zero, but it was too expensive. The owner, seeing her reaction, asked if she was from Lomi village because only there was this fruit grown. But due to bad harvesting this year, there was a shortage of this fruit, hence the high price. Ivy told the merchant that she was from Lomi, and when asked about her parents, she panicked and said she was traveling alone. Hearing this made the owner furious, and he started cursing the village chief, blaming him for the downfall of Lomi. This surprised Ivy, as the owner thought she got kicked out of the village due to food shortages. Seeing Ivy's sadness, the owner explained that in the village, there was a fortune teller, and the Zaro fruit harvest depended a lot on her. Its harvesting time changes every year, and even if harvested a single day late, it will rot. Zaro was the only source of income for Lomi. Unfortunately, when the fortune teller fell sick, the village head didn't give her medicine, and she died painfully. The worst part was hearing the village head blame all the fault on an innocent 8-year-old kid, which made Ivy really sad and angry. The store owner continued, saying that their only source of income was cut off, and the village head was chasing kids and old people who couldn't work outside the village. He asked if Ivy was also one of them, but she remained silent. Seeing Ivy's sadness, the owner took out a Zaro fruit that was overripe and gave it to Ivy, lightening her mood. Back at her tent, Ivy was worried, thinking she didn't know so much had happened in the village. She wondered how her family was doing. And once again, she started to feel sad, saying she wished to live a happy life with her family. She then told Sora she's glad that in her journey, she had met some really good people like Sora, Seal, Oat, and Velivra, who were really kind to her. While taking a bite of the Zaro fruit, its flavor reminded her of her village, and she remembered what the fortune teller told her. She said to go to the royal capital, but she must find people whom she can trust, and when she does, she must tell everything about her to them. Her life was going smoothly every day. All the guards used to greet and help her, and she was making a good living catching field mice. But one day, while returning, she sensed a sharp killing intent, and it was none other than the previous adventurer and her girlfriend. With a smirking smile, he approached Ivy, shouting at her, saying all because of her, his friends got arrested, and that she had to pay. The adventurer then said he noticed a weird slime back then and said if they were to sell it, they would make a fortune. Hearing this, Ivy ran with all her might, but the adventurer fell into Ivy's trap, making him furious. Now, he wanted to kill Ivy with his own sword. Ivy continued to run, but the girlfriend instantly appeared in front of her, saying she had a 3-star sprinting skill, and she couldn't escape. The adventurer also caught up and grabbed Ivy's collar, asking her to hand over the slime. But when Ivy resisted, his girlfriend grabbed Ivy's other hand and was ready to punch her in the stomach. Suddenly she noticed something horrifying, and when both of them turned back, they were scared to death at the sight of the Adanel. They immediately left Ivy and Seal. As Seal furiously glared at them, they got so scared that one of them fainted. Now Ivy realized Seal was not an ordinary panther. He was indeed the legendary SS rank beast she had read about. Adanel was known as a ferocious beast, but Seal didn't seem to be. Just then, Ivy sensed humans coming, and after thanking Seal, he ran into the forest. From behind, Captain Oat and Velivra came with concern, asking if she was all right and if she was hurt anywhere. They mentioned they had heard people screaming and beasts growling while patrolling. And Ivy explained everything, excluding Seal's part. The next day, Captain Oat called Ivy, saying the adventurer she caught was a wanted murderer, and for that, she would get a reward from the guild. Ivy would receive 2 gold coins and 3 silver coins. This surprised her once again. Estimating that, she had just earned 2,300 field mice worth of money, plus the money she got from the previous village, totaling 5,100 field mice worth of money. Oat interrupted her thoughts, asking if she had an account now that she had so much money, as holding such a large amount of money was very risky. This confused her, so Oat took Ivy inside the guild to open her a bank account, saying he would become her guardian. When opening her account, the receptionist explained all she had to do was give 1 drop of her blood, and all her info appeared on a screen. Oat read the info, surprised to see she was 8 years and 11 months old, as he thought Ivy was 6 years old. Ivy deposited all her money, receiving a badge in return, which would record all her transactions and allowing her to take the money out in any village. But just then, Volivra furiously arrived and started scolding Oat, saying he had been searching for him throughout the entire village, leaving all his work onto his subordinate. This made Oat nervous, and they started fighting like a married couple, leaving Ivy in an awkward position. After the situation lightened, Oat took Ivy to the most famous street food store in the village. The shopkeeper, upon seeing Ivy with Volivra and Oat, jokingly asked if Ivy was their secret kid. And Oat playfully replied yes and remarked on how cute Ivy was, making her feel a little awkward. As they sat at the table, Ivy presented her special dish, seek kebab. Since Ivy had only been used to dried meat, bread, and berries, she was genuinely happy to finally eat something delicious. As she took a bite, she couldn't believe how tasty it was. The meat melted in her mouth. Volivra explained that it was delicious because the shopkeeper had a 4-star cooking skill, which made her feel out of place. Curious, Captain Oat asked Ivy what her skill was, as he never got the chance to ask. She was still tense and hesitantly replied that she was a tamer. Oat praised the skill, saying it was suitable for joining the knights in the future. Then, they asked how many stars she had, which made her more scared. Sensing her discomfort, the boys changed the topic, saying that the number of stars didn't matter, mentioning the 4-star who became a criminal, and a 1-star could achieve many things. The next day, Ivy was ready to leave the village. But Oat suggested that if she wanted, she could live in the village. She explained her desire to go to the royal capital to fulfill the will of the fortune teller. Oat assured her that if anyone bullied her, she could tell them his name and say she was his friend. Ivy thanked him and left. After she left, the situation became tense when they checked the list of names from Lomi village, and there was no kid named Ivy. The closest match was someone called Famisha, a girl who escaped alone. This saddened Oat, wondering if Ivy really didn't trust him enough to tell the truth. However, Volivra suggested that something terrible might have happened to her, explaining her lack of trust. Despite this, Oat remained hopeful, believing that one day Ivy would tell him everything. Ivy then continues her journey, chasing after Sora who darts off ahead. Eventually, she catches up to Sora and takes a moment to rest, quenching her thirst with some water. However, she notices that Sora is brimming with energy, prompting her to reflect on how Sora has changed since healing Seal's injuries, almost as if he absorbed the wounds and evolved. As Ivy follows Sora, she discovers that the forest boars have ravaged the ground, messing up everything in sight. Suddenly, something leaps out of the bushes, causing Ivy to cower in fear. However, her anxiety dissipates when she realizes it's Seal. Relieved, Ivy jumps onto the creature, expressing her happiness at seeing it. Sora, feeling a bit jealous, is reassured by Ivy that she loves him too. That evening, Ivy sets up camp and enjoys some of the rabbit meat Seal caught earlier, thanking the big cat. Sora also enjoys his potions. And Ivy plans to wake up early to check her field mouse traps, unaware of a mysterious entity watching her from a distance. As day breaks, Ivy walks through the fog-filled forest to check her traps, finding them empty. Despite this, she remains optimistic as she still has leftover meat from before. However, her mood shifts when she senses a presence and notices abnormal activity ahead. She urges Sora to retreat into her bag, and panics as she realizes she's being pursued. Unable to run further upon reaching a cliff, Ivy braces herself as the presence draws closer. She sees a mysterious figure approaching her. However, as it draws nearer, Ivy realizes that it was a person. She shouts for it to stay back, but it continues its advance. Seal then rushes toward her, emitting a powerful roar that causes the creature to vanish. Ivy is left pondering the identity of the mysterious creature as Seal picks her up, and they continue through the mountain pass. She then expresses her gratitude to the cat once again for saving her life. As Ivy continues to ponder the unpleasant presence, Seal suddenly stops and begins to growl, indicating trouble. An ogre is spotted climbing towards their location, prompting the Adandalet to set her down to face the monster. It leaps onto the ogre, biting and knocking it into the river below. Suddenly, rumbling from above catches her attention, revealing a unit of ogres descending towards her. Ivy quickly dashes away, finding herself in an area with dead trees adorned with straw figures. Despite the eerie sight, she's forced to run as the ogres close in. Unfortunately, she triggers a trap and gets captured. Just as the monsters prepare to attack, a fireball blows one away. Lachua rains down fire on the remaining ogres, while Shafal swiftly shoots them down, rescuing Ivy from the trap. Mila summons giant slimes to cushion their fall, and Zelk and Nuga dispatch the attacking ogre. Shafal's arrow shots take out the remaining ogres as they introduce themselves as the Blazing Sword, a suppression squad tasked with hunting down overpopulated monsters in the area. After ensuring Ivy is unharmed, they individually introduce themselves. Surprised by Ivy's journey from Latami village to Ottawa alone, they offer her to travel with them to their home in Ottawa. Ivy gleefully accepts their offer as they head towards their campsite, which turns out to be more of an outpost, with other adventure groups gathered there. Merchants and vendors line the area, and monster repellent surrounds the perimeter, ensuring safety. Led to their tent, Ivy is granted permission to use the empty plot beside them by the party leader. As Mila bids goodbye to join her party, Zelk and the other two head to a meeting about the next phase of the monster hunt. Ivy notices Lachua is on cooking duty, but turns out his comrades always complain about his food, making him scared to cook when it's his turn. Curious about his cooking process, Ivy offers assistance. Lachua reveals his 3-star flame attack skill, which he uses to roast and grill food before adding salt and pepper. He pleads for her help in preparing dinner, and Ivy gladly obliges. She then educates him on removing gaminess from meat using herbs and cuts up the vegetables. By the time the others arrive, the food is ready and laid out on the table. The variety of food impresses them, and as they take their first bite, they're moved to tears by its deliciousness. Ivy was initially worried, thinking they disliked it, but their reaction is due to its exceptional taste. They're surprised at how she removed the gaminess from the wild rabbit. Not long after, Mila walks by, enticed by the lovely smell from the Blazing Sword area, and joins them for a bite. She's stunned by the meal's deliciousness and learns that Ivy cooked it all herself, with Lachua assisting in controlling the fire. With the knowledge from her past life, Ivy then tries to conduct a little experiment by combining a few metals with Lachua's skills. He then shot a huge fireball into the sky, lighting up the nightly heavens. Ivy explains the flame color reactions due to burning metallic elements, and Mila tips out a bag full of scrap metals, giving it to Ivy. She creates a sack with the ingredients inside and gives it to Lachua to throw and shoot, resulting in new colors lighting up the sky. Seal watches from her vantage point while resting after the meal and the show. Despite Zerk's pleas for her to rest, Ivy insists on helping clean up. Once the work is done, she feeds Sora in her tent before going to bed. Meanwhile, the members of Blazing Sword discuss the situation. They note Ivy's thinness, indicating she hasn't been eating well, and observe her considerate nature, suspecting she fears being cast aside as she's not useful. The next morning, Ivy went to the garbage bin and was surprised to find many used potions, some almost new. She then noticed Mila's slime absorbing a broken sword, and she explained that it was a rare metal-eating slime. Suddenly, Ivy felt the same chilling presence she felt that night when she was chased. Mila asked what happened, but before Ivy could explain, the boys arrived, throwing their trash, and the terrifying feeling vanished. At night, Ivy helped with cooking again, and everyone enjoyed the meal. Ivy wondered about Kuro but knew he was dutifully observing everything from the hill. After the boys finished eating, they insisted Ivy eat more, but she worried her stomach might explode if she ate like them. Mila then arrived with her twin brothers, surprising Ivy, as she had never seen twins before. Lachua then explained they make up the adventurer group Green Gale. The twin brothers approached Ivy, observing her and mentioning something about precious things. They suggested she could join their group when she grew up, but Lachua hugged Ivy, claiming her as his little brother. Captain Zelk then intervened, scolding Lachua and introducing Ivy to Captain Barolda, leader of the adventurer group Lightning King. However, the twins and Mila left, visibly annoyed by Barolda's presence. Captain Zelk and Barolda decided that the boys would take Ivy to the capital, much to Ivy's delight. When Ivy returned to her tent, she apologized to Sora for not talking with him all day. Sora excitedly responded with his usual poo, and Ivy took out all the potions to feed him. While Sora continued munching away, Ivy once again felt that terrifying presence, getting very scared. Holding Sora close to her chest, she started praying, and suddenly, the presence disappeared. Lachua whispered from outside, asking if Ivy was still awake. Relieved to hear Lachua's voice, Ivy went outside, and Lachua asked if she would help him cook breakfast the next day. Ivy agreed to his request, and Lachua left, apologizing if he woke Ivy from her sleep. After Latrua left, Ivy wondered why the terrifying presence vanished when Latrua appeared. Confused, she asked Sora if Latrua was the source of that presence. Sora flattened his body, confusing Ivy even more, as she still couldn't communicate with him. Then, she wondered if a high-level tamer like Mila would be able to understand what Sora was saying. But as soon as Sora heard Mila's name, he started to shiver and make an aggressive face. Ivy remembered when Sora reacted similarly to the person selling illegal alcohol, who turned out to be a murderer. To confirm her theory, Ivy asked if Latrua was a good guy, and Sora jumped twice. When Ivy asked about Captain Zelk, Nuga, and Shafal, Sora jumped twice again, but with a calm face. When Ivy asked about Mila, Sora once again started to shake, making an aggressive face. This was enough to make Ivy realize that Mila is a threat. The next day, Ivy finally reached the capital, and the guard gave her an identification form. Seeing this, Ivy panicked and asked if it was necessary to write about her hometown. The guard told her yes, as it was required for entry. This made Latrua curious as he never asked where Ivy was from, and at that moment, Ivy said she was from Lomi village. Hearing this, everyone was surprised. Then, Ivy remembered Oat's advice to say his name if she ever was in trouble. So, Ivy explained that Captain Oat was acting like her guardian. This surprised everyone, and when the guard asked if Ivy had any proof that Oat was her guardian, Ivy showed his guild badge. After checking, it was confirmed that Captain Oat was indeed her guardian. The guard then gave Ivy her badge to enter the town, and as soon as she entered the city, she was amazed at how big it was. Ivy noticed everyone preparing tents outside, and when she asked, Captain Barolda explained that there was a very dangerous organization kidnapping children and selling them in the slave market. They took this job to catch those criminals. Ivy got startled and asked if there was any chance she could also get targeted. Captain Barolda explained that as a child traveling alone, she was likely their favorite target. That's why the boys decided to take care of her, and instructed Ivy to stick with them, and not travel alone until they catch those people. Seeing how everyone was so kind, Ivy revealed that she recently almost got attacked. This made everyone worried, and then Captain Barolda used a soundproof item and asked Ivy to tell the full story. Ivy explained everything about being chased in the forest, but due to a monster appearing nearby and growling, the presence ran away. Ivy continued, saying that the previous day she felt the same presence in the dumping ground and at night outside her tent, but that presence disappeared when Latrua came to talk with her. Just after that, Captain Zelk jokingly started shouting at Latrua, asking if he started to kidnap kids as a side business. Latrua explained, saying everyone knows he is not that type. He just gets excited seeing kids and loves them, so there is no way he would kidnap them. Then Nuga mentioned that someone must definitely be after Ivy and was chasing her from the forest last night. But when they saw Latrua, they must have run. Then, very hesitantly, Ivy said she needed to say something but didn't know how to say it. Everyone insisted she say it, and she hesitantly said she thinks Miss Mila is behind all this. This made everyone shocked. They couldn't believe their own companion could do something like this. When Captain Zelk asked if Ivy had any proof, Ivy got into a tricky situation. She couldn't go and say it was her rare slime, Sora, who told her so. She apologized and said to forget everything, then ran into her tent. Inside her tent, she was tense and talked with Sora. She then started to wonder about what she should do now as she couldn't reveal Sora to those boys. Suddenly Sora started jumping, trying to convey that it's okay to reveal him to the boys. The next day when Ivy woke up, the boys called Ivy. When Ivy went outside, the captain immediately used the soundproof device, explaining to Ivy that she was telling the truth and that Mila is indeed very suspicious. After Ivy left, they started tailing Mila and got shocked to see her and the twin brother using a soundproof device to talk with a black market merchant. When they asked Mila what she was talking about with that merchant, she said it was nothing. The merchant was just asking for directions. The boys questioned her, asking if she thought they were dumb, as no merchant asked for directions using a soundproof device. Finally, after tracking that merchant, they found out he was a wanted criminal suspected of abducting kids. Then, everyone started to thank Ivy, making her confused. She asked why everyone believed what she said, and everyone said that a kid so pure and innocent like her can't lie. They believe Ivy 100%. This made Ivy emotional, and the fortune teller's words started to come to her mind. She said if she found someone to trust, she could tell them everything. So Ivy decided to reveal that she's a tamer, and then she also showed everyone Sora. Once again, everyone was shocked. She then explained that it was none other than Sora, her slime, that has the ability to tell if anyone is bad or good. Ivy couldn't believe she had found a place where her opinion mattered so much. The guys could also see how rare Sora was and promised to keep it a secret, knowing it could make her a target. The adventurers were stunned to hear that Sora was a disintegrating slime. Barolda remarked that in all his years, he had never seen such a rare slime before. Latrua proudly pointed out how amazing Ivy was, feeling like a talent scout for discovering her. As most of them had only heard of transparent slimes like Sora in legends and stories. Meanwhile, Rick Belt couldn't get over how cute Sora was and kept petting the creature excessively. The others then assured Ivy that Rick Belt meant no harm, as he had a weakness for adorable animals. They also recounted other instances where creatures ended up hating him for over-petting. Latrua acknowledged Ivy's skill in taming such a rare slime. But Rick Belt decided to test Sora's ability by lying about his name, which Sora detected with ease. Low Creek speculated that it could have been obvious because they had already introduced themselves. Instead, he confessed to an incident where Malreek secretly drank Shifal's adult water, which Sora confirmed to be true, leading to a fight between the two. They all ate together after interacting with Sora, but they put up the noise-proof barrier while discussing the fact that the 3 members of the Green Gale were traitors. Low Creek mentioned how the indentured servant organization had been capturing people in the town for years, eluding them whenever they found a clue. The idea that traitors were leaking their plans to the organization was suggested, and thanks to Ivy, they knew the sibling party was part of the deception. Seasilk felt it would be easier for them to act if they captured the Green Gale. But Latrua could see that Ivy was saddened by this revelation and was disappointed that Mila was a bad person, as he had known her since childhood. Rick Belt shared the same sentiment because Malma was his good friend, but he remained resolute in capturing him if he was a bad guy. Ivy was interested to know when the organization became active, and Barolda revealed it had been over 10 years. People initially thought the missing youngsters had fallen victim to monsters, but 7 years ago, they confirmed the existence of the organization after hearing testimonies from victims who escaped. This made her sure that there might be other traitors given how long they had been operating without being caught. Seasilk then brings up the failed raid due to an information leak, detailing how an ally of the Watch infiltrated the organization but was eliminated. Only a handful of people knew the operation details, and the Green Gale would have learned about it right before it happened, leaving little time to act. This confirms the existence of other traitors. But Barolda worries that dealing with the Green Gale could be problematic because their promotion was endorsed by a noble, which also made him trust them. Ivy, however, finds the endorsement strange and questions if they are close friends with the noble. But Barolda doubts it, as they only did one job for the noble, leading to their promotion, which is rare since nobles typically look down on adventurers. Ivy then suggests that they were likely vetted for their potential involvement in the conspiracy, which surprised them as Ivy somehow noticed this before them. One thing led to another and they soon learned that Ivy was actually a 9-year-old, which shocked everyone. Latrua, however, thought she wrote 8 as her age when she initially entered the one. She then revealed that today was actually her birthday and receives birthday greetings, which makes her happy after years of not hearing them. Some of the adventurers thought she's older due to her cooking skills, which she secretly thanks to her previous life. Barolda sees the case becoming more difficult if a traitor is among the nobility. Seasilk agrees and wants to confirm who in higher positions of power can be trusted. So, they ask Ivy and Sora to help them check the guild master the next day. At the Adventurers Guild, Ivy is introduced to Guild Master Rogleaf. Sora indicates he can be trusted, as does Captain Burkspy and Vice Captain Agrop of the Town Watch. Barolda then bluffs with a random crystal, claiming it can detect good or bad intentions, but it's perishable and stops working after a week. The Guildmaster suggests using it while it's functional to detect traitors, and the captain suggests summoning all members of the Watch for testing. They then visit the house the organization used, where they found no evidence in the past, but upon their initial greetings the Green Guard is quickly flagged as a traitor. This causes their motivation to surge, and by day's end, all 157 guards have been tested, revealing that 38 of them were traitors. Burkspy is in disbelief, understanding how the organization evaded them. As they discuss the revelation, Count Faltoria and Count Ferranda enter. The counts came to check on the investigation, with Faltoria catching Ivy's eye. Faltoria then introduces himself, but Sora identifies him as a bad person. Ferranda, however, receives good vibes from Sora. Once they leave, she reveals that Faltoria is part of the organization, shocking everyone, especially Burkspy, who shared raid details with him. Burkspy blames himself for the spy's demise, but Seasilk reminds him to direct their hatred toward the organization. Ivy notices the short time between their arrival and Faltoria's, suggesting it's not a coincidence. The captain notes that the traitors among the watchmen haven't left their posts, indicating the town may be infested with enemies. Latrua, however, is surprised by the lack of evidence, and Barolda doubts they could clear it all in time. Ivy then wonders where Malgadula was guarding, and they realize he likely received orders to misdirect the investigation from the incriminating evidence room. They are impressed by Ivy's analytical skills and head to Malgadula's room to relieve him of duty. They quickly search the room when it's clear, but Ivy's past self suggests checking for a trick bookcase like in stories. Ivy inspects the bookshelf and notices one book that seems worn from handling. She pushes it, opening a hidden door, but she falls, grabbing everyone's attention. They find the hidden room with chests and documents strewn across the floor. The group praises Ivy for her detective skills, marveling at the amount of money in the chests, indicating the organization's vast scale. Berolda believes leaving it untouched and fleeing was their best move. Among the documents, they find evidence of abductions. Berkspy then suggests leaving everything as is to maintain secrecy. They return the evidence and exit the house. Sizilk, Berkspy, and Berolda have been secretly planning their next move. Latrua acknowledges Ivy and Sora's pivotal role in the case, offering to escort her anywhere she wants. They then go to the laundry, where Ivy is amazed by the magic water bucket for those unable to use water magic. Latrua, however, reveals it's common, as he uses one himself for cooking. He then addresses Ivy for pretending to be a boy, but understands the necessity for safety. They decide to keep it from the others for now. But suddenly Mila joins them, offering to enjoy dessert alone with Ivy, but Latrua insists on accompanying them. They soon agree on a location, but are quickly joined by the twin brothers ominously, and with that, the episode came to an end. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.